To the latest on the gay marriage debate in Albany, and are state lawmakers any closer to a vote?
It's a critical question as the legislature prepares for its summer break. News 4 senior correspondent Rich Newberg is following the latest on this tonight. Rich?
Well, we still don't know if the same-sex marriage bill will be released to the state Senate floor for a vote. Proponents remain optimistic that the vote will happen tomorrow.
I just want to get married.
Me too.
I'd get married right here, right now, if I could.
Kitty Lambert and Cheryl Rudd of Buffalo were among the demonstrators in Albany Monday fighting for same-sex marriage. They say their most vocal opponents were representing religious interests.
They kept touching you and praying on you, and it's like, and telling you that you don't know Christ. I think I found that more offensive than anything.
But talks among legislative leaders in Albany continue over amendments to better protect religious groups that could face discrimination lawsuits if they refuse to participate in same-sex weddings. The New York Civil Liberties Union says the state already has protections.
No one is going to force any clergy member of any faith to solemnize any marriage that's not in accordance with the views of their faith.
The gay marriage bill still appears to be one vote short of approval. I talked with State Senator Mark Grisanti's chief of staff earlier in the day.
He's weighing a number of different issues, one being his civil rights issue, looking at this as an attorney, and the other being a personal issue that he's weighing with his Catholic belief.
Other issues have been lumped together with same-sex marriage in these closing days of the legislative session, and that is upsetting to some same-sex marriage proponents.
In other words, it's saying, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and if there's no scratching going on, we're not even gonna call it to a vote, which they have the power to do.
It will be up to Republicans in the state Senate to decide whether the same-sex marriage bill gets a vote.
Let's start with Dean Scully's concern as far as the safety copy goes, that some federal judge is going to strike down protections written into the law to protect religious institutions and other groups like the Knights of Columbus that may not want to cater or perform ceremonies for people of the same sex.
Yeah. The governor and the state assembly were both very, very careful that they crafted into this law all the protections that were legally allowed. As they understood them to be. The bottom line is no one is going to force any clergy member of any faith to solemnize any marriage that's not in accordance with the views of their faith. We take the protections of religious institutions quite seriously. We also take the protections of the state human rights law quite seriously as well. The protections that are out there right now for all of these institutions will protect Roman Catholic churches, synagogues, mosques, virtually any other house of worship from solemnizing any events that's not in accordance with their own traditions and customs. Much the same way as right now a Roman Catholic church would not have to marry two atheists. They would not have to marry the Jews or Muslims if they did not follow the teachings of the Catholic Church or whatever other customs they might have. Those protections are already out there.
What if a federal judge did come along and strike it down?
Well, my first reaction is if a federal judge strikes it down as unconstitutional or illegal, then perhaps we shouldn't have wrote that type of protection in the first place.
Do you think, from where you sit, you think the Republicans would pass the law? I mean, politically, it looks like this is what it's going to take for it to pass.
I think that we're spending, as a state, and we're all watching this very closely. I know you guys are, I know we are, and I also know that 42,000 families are. One of the things that we're all watching very closely is we're watching a lot of rhetoric and fear being used to motivate people into senseless worrying. 6 other states have passed protections for marriage equality and marriage fairness, and we just don't have the deluge of court cases and anarchy, as some people would have us believe, that they're ratcheting up all the rhetoric about.
Why do you think it's touching such a nerve?
Some of it, perhaps legitimate, fears, questions that aren't answered. People aren't getting their information from the best sources, and some of it is prejudice, plain and simple. If we replace the words race for same-sex, you'll see just how absurd most of these allegations are.
Where does the New York Civil Liberties Union stand on the issue?
We are all for the ability of anyone in the state of New York being able to marry anyone that they want. It's about love and it's about commitment to families. We are leaving 42,000 families, more than 40,000 children without family units because we do not protect marriage in this state. This harms no religious institution. This harms no individual. This helps people.
Are you also for the protections of certain religious groups?
We are for the protections of all religious groups and those who choose not to have a religious faith whatsoever. Our lawyers have looked at the protections in the law that Governor Cuomo brought into the Assembly, that the Assembly passed, and we're now waiting for the Senate. We have no qualms or objections whatsoever that any religion is going to be harmed by any of the protections that are included in this law.
Do you think the protections are thorough enough that cover all the bases?
In my opinion, if we've looked at them and we think they're good, then they probably protect more than one might assume that they would.
So, your umbrella of protection protects not only people of the same sex who want to be married, but also protects any other institutions that feel they would be harmed by it.
Absolutely, and let's not forget that there's also a good segment of Americans that are non-religious that this doesn't bother in the least.